Are you ready for the world's #1 premier radio show, Answers with Anna? Hello, I'm your host, Anna Haga Paris, and this is Answers with Anna, the only radio show where you get the answers you want to know. Today I have some very special guests who traveled here all the way from the setting of the book, Steelheart, by Brandon Sanderson. In this novel, an 18-year-old boy named David sets out to kill an evil epic named Steelheart. Epics are creatures with superpowers that usually want to have as much power as possible. David goes on a difficult journey to kill Steelheart and ends up killing him in a very interesting way. Here to tell us more about his journey, we have David himself. David, we are so happy to have you here with us.
It's great to be here, Anna.
So David, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I grew up in New Chicago, a city formerly known as Chicago. After Steelheart turned the entire city to steel and declared himself emperor, he decided to rename it. It was always dark in New Chicago. New Chicago was different. There, you could be casually murdered by an epic who didn't like the way you looked at him. But at least there was electricity, water, and food. People adapt. That's what we did. So I grew up in a place called Haven Dark Factory. It was a place that raised orphans.
David, could you please tell us what you think was so wrong with the way New Chicago worked?
Well, the normal people were always suppressed by the epics. Everyone lived in fear. Yes, in New Chicago it seems like things are okay. I mean, you get food and there are stores and you're safe. If you don't do something to offend an epic, that is. But if people really took a good look at the city, they would see how everyone was controlled by Steelheart. He ran the city, yes, but he also ran all the lives of the city's citizens.
David, could you tell us how you lost your parents?
Well, my mother died when I was little. My father was killed by Steelheart himself. My father and I visited a bank when I was little. The bank was enormous. It had a single open chamber with white pillars surrounded by a tile mosaic floor. Broad doors opened onto the street with a set of conventional doors to the sides. A little epic came in and started hurting people, and then Steelheart himself came in and started saying that the epic had to join him. My father actually tried to save Steelheart. He believed in the epics. The little epic was sneaking up behind Steelheart to kill him, and my father shot at him. Unfortunately, he missed, and the bullet grazed Steelheart's cheek. The next thing I knew, Steelheart had sent a burst of energy at my father. The last thing he said to me was, "Run, David," and I ran. That was the day I had seen Steelheart bleed, and it was the day I vowed to see him bleed again.
Wow, David, that is deep. Well, anyway, there you have it, folks. The answer of where David's adventure began. We'll be right back. Have you ever needed to know the time? Or needed to talk to someone? Or needed somewhere to keep your notes? Well, with mobiles, all of those wonderful things are packaged into one easy-to-carry device. With mobiles, you can send text messages, store important info, and have conference calls. They're based on technology from the book Steelheart. Come and get your mobile today for only $500.99. It's a bargain! Welcome back to Answers with Anna. Let's continue our talk with the character David from the book Steelheart. So David, could you tell us a little bit about what kind of person you are?
Well, Anna, I used to be a very uncomplicated guy. I only had one thing that I was interested in, and that was killing Steelheart. However, when I met the Reckoners, a group that was created to take down epics, I began to realize that there were other things that were important to me.
You mentioned meeting the Reckoners. Could you tell us how you met them and who was in the Reckoners unit you joined?
I met the Reckoners by figuring out which minor epic they were about to attack. I actually joined in on one of their plans and helped take down an epic. After that, they brought me in as a kind of prisoner underground. I eventually was able to persuade them to follow my master plan on how to kill Steelheart. There were 5 other people in my unit. Prof, founder of the Reckoners, he was very intimidating. Then there was Cody and Abraham. Cody was a trickster. Abraham was a quiet type, but brilliant with a gun. There was Tia, who was a total genius. She also studied the epics. Then there was Megan.
Well, Megan is going to come on the show after you to answer some questions. Could you tell us a little bit about her and...
Megan is gorgeous.
Well, that was a fast reply.
Oh, Sparks. I didn't mean for it to come out like that. Well, anyway, Megan was brilliant with a gun and very smart, but she never did approve of our plan to kill Steelheart. She said that he at least took care of the people of New Cago, gave them food and electricity and that sort of stuff.
And why do you think she would feel that way?
Well, it didn't make much sense to me at first, but then I learned her secret.
Secret? What secret?
Megan is actually an epic. A very famous epic, too. She was an illusionist epic that created a fake image of an epic called Fireflight. He was a fake person who supposedly was a very powerful fire epic who worked with Steelheart.
Wow, and you never knew?
Not until the night we killed Steelheart.
Before we get to that, could you tell us which member of your team you think complemented your personality the most?
Oh, definitely Megan. We were complete opposites.
Well, we'll be right back. Stay tuned. This program is sponsored by Books in Real Life, the only delivery service that brings the elements of books into your home. Stop by and get your model tensors from the book Steelheart. Does not actually destroy solid objects. Welcome back to the show. I'm here with David from the book Steelheart. So far, we've covered how his adventure started and the information on his team members. Now we're going to move over to his time with the Reckoners and the moments leading up to their battle with Steelheart.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so what was the plan you convinced the Reckoners to use?
Well, we would create a fake epic and then destroy a bunch of important buildings and pretend the epic did it. Eventually, we would challenge Steelheart and use the time in the bank to determine his weaknesses.
Clever plan. So what buildings did you destroy?
Just the power plant, and we managed to capture Conflux, the epic who powers New Cago. He's actually a really nice guy. He was Steelheart's prisoner.
So Steelheart was using him to power the city?
Exactly.
So while you were planning, where in New Cago did you stay?
The Reckoner hideout. It was built in the tunnels and rooms dug out after New Cago was turned to steel. Even veterans of the city tended to avoid the lower levels, called the Steel Catacombs, where it was too easy to get lost. That's why we built a hideout down there. The Reckoner hideout was a small room with loads of technology in it.
Did you ever find it hard to be in such a small space underground?
Not really. I lived in a one-room apartment underground for a year after I left the factory.
And the hideout was just one room?
Well, really 2 rooms. Prof had a tiny office off the main room. All 4 walls, along with the ceiling and the floor, had been turned slate black, and they were covered in white scribbled writing.
Okay, so you challenged Steelheart, and he accepted. Where did you meet him?
At the old football stadium. It was covered in steel, but there were many places to hide in the stands. Nobody lived nearby, and there was nothing in the area to loot, so nobody would be around.
Okay, so we're almost out of time, but could you quickly describe how you did manage to kill Steelheart?
Oh, well, it was a hard battle. I was facing Nightwielder, one of the high epics working for him, as well as Fireflight. In that battle, I found out that Megan was Fireflight, which was kind of a shock. Anyway, Prof was out in the field facing Steelheart. I noticed he was lasting an incredibly long time. He was just using the tensors. Those are gloves that can carve through metal. The Reckoners used them to get around. I knew that Prof didn't like using the tensors, but he was really good with them. So I came out into the field just as Steelheart finally knocked Prof to the ground, and I tried to shoot at him. His skin is impenetrable. He looked around at me and said that he remembered me from the day at the bank long ago. He raised his gun to kill me, but what he did not know is that I had figured out his weakness. I had tampered with the gun, so when he shot it, it backfired and killed him.
And how does this use his weakness against him?
Because Steelheart's weakness is that he can only be killed by someone who doesn't fear him. and there was only one person on Earth who didn't fear Steelheart.
Himself! Wow, that is genius. So you finally got Steelheart. And is that all you have to tell our audience?
Well, after Steelheart was killed, there was a huge explosion because I put explosives in the gun. I would have been killed, except Prof put a force field around me.
Wait, how could Prof put a force field around you?
Well, it turns out that Prof is an epic.
Oh my goodness, so his tensors weren't real?
Nope, he was just gifting his powers to people.
So David, I'm going to ask you one final question. Is there anything that you learned throughout your journey?
Well, Anna, yes, I realized that I was fighting because of my father's death. I'm sorry, I realized that I was not fighting because of my father's death. I was fighting because of my father's dreams. I saw that it is always good to fight for what you believe in, but sometimes you have to think about why you're fighting for it and what it could do to you and others.
Well, David, thank you so much for being here with us and giving us all the important answers about your journey.
Thank you so much for having me on your show, Anna. It's been a pleasure.
We will be right back with Megan for a brief interview. The holidays are just around the corner. If you're wondering what to get your kid, have no fear. Stop on down to your local bookstore and get them the entire Reckoner's book series. It will keep them reading all winter long. Bring some of the Steelheart magic into your home today. Welcome back. Please welcome Megan, the character David thinks best complements his personality. How are you, Megan?
Oh, I'm fine.
Now, Megan, at the end of the book Steelheart, we never really find out how you're feeling. Could you tell us what you're planning to do now that you've been discovered as an epic by David?
Well, I think he found out I was a spy sent by Steelheart.
Wait, what?
I was a spy. I was safe working for Steelheart. You can't blame me, really.
I guess.
I will say that when I was with the Reckoners, I had less of an urge to hurt people.
Oh, well, that's good. So, Megan, are there any events that David didn't get to explain that were important in your journey?
Well, I did die, so...
What? You died?
Yeah. Oh, as a high epic, I reincarnate when I die. Of course the Reckoners didn't know that, so they buried me in the hideout when they left. I reincarnated and found them.
So, how did you die?
When we were trying to capture Conflux, the motorcycle fell on me. I bled to death.
Oh, did it hurt?
Not for long.
Alright, we're almost out of time again, so could you please tell us about your view of David? It's obvious he had a crush on you.
Yeah, I mean, David is such a nerd. On several occasions I actually said, "You're such a nerd," to him. When I first met him, I thought, Sparks, I'm way out of your league.
Oh, well, okay. So, did you feel that way after you saw him in the stadium?
Well, yes, but something else was there. David is extremely dangerous. He can persuade people to do things for him. He is a very dedicated person, always focused on his goal. He spent 10 years studying epics, taking notes on them and the Reckoners. That shows just how driven he is.
So, would you say you started to admire David in a way?
No, I'd say I started to appreciate him, not admire.
Alright then. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Megan.
Happy to do it.
Thank you to both Megan and David for being on the show and answering all my crazy questions. You heard it here, folks. Go out and buy the book Steelheart. Thank you, everyone, and good night.